Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
It's a live edition, folks. It's PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We'll have JC and we'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Billy Napier will talk today. JC, you're on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. You know what today is, JC?
Yeah, it's a big day, and what is it? Just tell me.
It's National Signing Day, and nobody gives a damn. Nobody gives a damn.
I think right. You know,
remember they used to have, JC. You would have been if you were a two-star athlete coming out of U-Holtz. You could have. Today would have been your day when you could have put 300 hats on the table, all your hats, and put a hat on and signed with that school. Nobody. I don't even know if anybody's signing today.
I would have. Well, let's see. If I was a two-star athlete and I had 300 hats out there, then that's amazing. I probably would have signed with Carson Newman or Valdosta State. You know, QB. It is funny how that has just taken such a backseat to what really happens in college football. And I saw something yesterday, dude. So we have this Georgia quarterback, Carson Beck, outstanding quarterback, great, accurate passer. You know, the conversation involves NIL money. And according to On3, who we've referenced here on the show before, did you know that Carson Beck of the University of Georgia's NIL valuation is over $1.1 million? And just recently, Carson Beck paid $300,000 to buy a Lamborghini. That's one of those fast little race cars. Now, if Carson Beck had gotten the right advice and called Johnny Cornell at Cornerstone Financial Group, and let's say this was the year 2013, Carson Beck would have taken that $1 million and I would have put it in the stock market or the S&P 500. And today, on February, whatever it is, 2023, he would have $3.2 million. And if he had done this 5 years ago, he would have $1.7 million. So my point is that I think these kids get bad advice in many cases. A Lamborghini's fun and it's nice, but it's not practical. And it is a waste of $300,000. Yeah. Nobody that watches our show drives.
I've never understood why people like all those expensive cars. I just don't get it.
Such a waste. And then you're afraid to stick it out there in a parking lot. I have a friend who bought a Mercedes-Benz. That person will not drive that Mercedes-Benz and park it at Publix unless she is parked all the way in the back. Okay. And then I said, well, then that's where the trees are going to drop acorns all over your beautiful Mercedes. And they've got all these fancy hoodads and whatnots in the car. And they think, oh my God, I've got a Mercedes. How do I operate this? And what mirror is here? And what camera is over there? And you forget that everything that's in front of that windshield wiper is all that matters. So, you know, hey, man, it's priorities. But Carson Beck just put 300 G's down on a Lamborghini, according to On3. But if he had called me, and this was 10 years ago, he'd have $3.2 million. And if this was 5 years ago, he would have $1.7 million if he had called me. So just remember, folks, when you get your NIL money, call this guy right here. Come on, Gators. Call Johnny C.
We got some text on the Tatumar text line. First, Tony wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Shane, does your Bentley get good gas mileage? I just leave it in the garage. I won't drive it.
You know,
I've been driving the same Tahoe since 2007.
I used to drive a Suzuki Forenza. You rode in it once.
This text from an anonymous text says, Carson Beck should have bought a minivan.
He would have saved about 260 grand, yeah, or 50, or whatever those things cost nowadays.
He could load up, if he had a minivan, he could load up the whole team. They could drive down to the local park and throw the football.
So much more fun, so much more practical. You can stick a sack of balls in the back and have 6 wide receivers and running backs in the minivan with you. You know what, QB? I also noticed that we are getting close to. I saw the glorious interview you had with our good friend and Hall of Fame softball coach Tim Walton yesterday. Loved him, loved his family, loved the Gator softball team. But it's almost baseball time. Yeah, it's getting close. I heard a guy yesterday talking about season tickets, and now he bought season tickets for the baseball team. And we all remember, the success of the baseball team here last year. And the D1Baseball.com rankings have just come out. Would you like me to tell you? Go ahead and tell me where you think the Gators are ranked.
They're ranked second in America behind Wake Forest.
How do you know this? That's so.
JC, I am on top of everything going on in this world when it comes to sports.
Okay, so let's see. So SEC teams in the top 25. UF is 2, Arkansas 3, LSU, your defending champs, is 4. Vandy, who's finally contributing something to our SEC conversation, is 6. Texas A&M is 8. Tennessee is 9. How many is that? 7. Texas is 16. They're an SEC team. Alabama is 19. South Carolina is 25. So quite a few SEC teams represented.
Well, I was watching a basketball game last night. What game was it? Was it Kentucky or was it South Carolina? Well, anyway, Jimmy Dykes was talking, and he's a basketball guy. And he's basically said the SEC is the premier conference in basketball now, along with football and along with baseball. And that's a fact. I mean, it is true. And, we'll have Sully on next week. He hasn't given me the day we've been texting. So Sully will be on next week because they kick off against the St. John's Redmond on Friday, a weekend series. So.
That's great. That's great. So it is coming up. So we can get excited about baseball here. That's kind of why I've got my Gator baseball hat on. And I think it's going to be a phenomenally exciting season. The weather hopefully will be good. Fans can go to the ballpark and just kind of decompress and think of baseball and forget about the defense and forget about the special teams and forget about the offense and forget about who signed, who didn't sign, who's getting paid, who's not. That's
get you a 6-pack of High Noon, which will cost you about $120 at the ballpark, and go sit in the outfield with your blanket and watch some ball, and don't worry about football season.
What's better than that? And yes, I agree. Football takes our precedent over everything, right? But it is baseball and basketball time right now. You've got a really scrappy basketball team to cheer for, one that beat the almighty Kentucky Wildcats. You've got a top-ranked, potentially championship-winning baseball team to get ready to excited for. You got Tim Walton on your side, coaching the girls. I mean, this is the time of year where you can get out and really show your colors. And even though it's not football, it's something. ESPN, by the way, is going to broadcast. ESPN is going to broadcast 4,000 baseball games, including the NCAA men's tournament and the College World Series. So ESPN is going to be all over baseball. That means you're going to get national coverage. That means that University of Florida is going to get the exposure. All of the SEC teams are going to get massive exposure with baseball coverage because ESPN is going to do it. And there is news, by the way, that soon ESPN, Fox Sports, Paramount, and Discovery are all going to have a streaming service. This came out yesterday that's going to allow you to stream everything that I think we actually care about. More news on that later. It's going to happen probably before the fall. I'm not a big streaming guy. I like my linear TV, but I also don't like giving Cox Cable hundreds of dollars every month. So there's going to be some adjustments in this household. This app and this streaming name of this service is going to be coming out soon, but that was announced yesterday, and it will cover just about everything you care about.
All right. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This day, JC, in 2021,
all right,
the Super Bowl, this is where the Buccaneers dominated the defending champs, the KC Chiefs, 31-9 down in Tampa.
Yeah.
Also, Sarah Thomas, who is a Pascagoula Panther graduate, she became the first woman to referee a Super Bowl. And that was the same game.
Do you remember where you were when that game happened and Brady and the Bucks just flattened Kansas City? I do. And I'll tell you this, the Chiefs are beatable. They are. And I really think this is the year San Francisco will do it defensively. I don't think the Chiefs are going to run up a lot of points on the 49ers.
Well, I agree with that, but the 49er defense hasn't been great the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. Now, they had a bye week to get prepared, so we'll see. Yeah.
Well, it's about Purdy, QB. You know as well as I do.
He has nothing to do with playing defense.
No, but the Niners are going to have to score, and KC's defense is no slouch either. So I think it's really going to come down to how he plays. If I were to say what's the one biggest key of the game, it's to me it's him for the Niners, and obviously it's Mahomes for the Chiefs.
Matt says he loves the ESPN app on his Apple TV. I can watch every Florida baseball game, even up here in Memphis.
It's cool. I mean,
I'm a YouTube guy.
Well, and YouTube's going to be a part of this in some form or fashion, but really you're going to have streaming. I know you love YouTube. You love the price you pay, and basically it has the channels you want. Now, if you want some of these secondary networks that show sports that aren't traditional to what you watch around here, it may not be the best thing. For instance, this NHL Center Ice package, the NBA package, whatever package, MLB package, that's gonna probably require you to stay on linear. But if you want the ESPNs, and I don't know how they're going to integrate ESPN3, ESPN Plus, the SEC network, this network, that network is all going to be part of it. I don't know how it's going to all live together with Disney Plus, which is also part of that company. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. I loved watching Mike Morgan the other day. You had him on. And no, I was not trying to say he couldn't X and O things, because I know he's a basketball player, but he brought up something about winning intramurals at Alligator Alley, which is also known as the Florida Gym. So now, QB, you can say to all your friends on this podcast that your show has not one, but 2 intramural campus champions on its program. You have Mike Morgan, who won the basketball intramural campus champion at Florida, and you have JC, who was part of the 1986 University of Alabama softball, slow pitch softball campus champions, who also beat Auburn University in Selma, Alabama, 2 months after winning the campus championship in 1986. You have 2 intramural champions now on your show. You should feel very honored about that, and I expect to check in the mail soon. So.
Yep. John on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, says JC needs to come to the business meeting today. He's skipping that business meeting.
I don't know. I mean, it's a little chilly out there, and
it's 60. Going to be 65 degrees.
It's not going to be 65 degrees.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I don't know what weather app you look at.
57 degrees here. What time is the business? What time does the business meeting start?
12. Paul on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He says, Shane, who's in charge of special teams?
Oh my God.
I don't give a damn anymore.
Oh my God. This is hilarious. Now, I mean, you got flustered yesterday on the show.
I didn't get flustered. I just tried to make a point. Anyway, Ruzoger State Farm also is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1770. We've got JC on the Titan More hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. We'll have Edgar. We'll talk to Edgar. We're going to give Edgar, I want people to give us some questions that you would ask or want Edgar to ask Billy Napier at the press conference today. I have a couple. They have that today. Again, I don't know if any Gators are signing today, and I'm kind of embarrassed not to know that, but I think they're all here already. I don't know who the hell's signing today across the country, maybe some small colleges.
Well, I'm surprised you don't have who's our man Graham Hall. Did you have him on last week talking about today?
I don't think anybody is signing today except for the smaller type schools. JC, back to SEC basketball. Gators are off. They don't play a midweek game.
Good.
Or a week game this week. They're off. They have Auburn coming into town. Auburn hosts Alabama tonight.
Right.
It's a hot ticket in Auburn. I think Auburn's going to win the game. I think Florida's going to beat Auburn on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, you're basically playing the home court advantage theory, and that basically is the case. It's not always the case. Tennessee won on the road just this past weekend. Florida won on the road just last week, QB. Should have won twice on the road, as we talked about with the Texas A&M game. So it's not an automatic, but it does give you this embedded advantage. Auburn's a 5.5-point favorite. Alabama beat them last time, but it was an up-and-down game. It was a tale of two halves, where Alabama won the first half and Auburn won the second half, but Alabama prevailed in the game. In this case, Auburn is almost impossible to beat. Mike Morgan was exactly right when he was saying how strong Auburn is at home. I mean, he can talk to this. He's been there. He said he's seen the atmosphere there. I have an in-law who's an Auburn Tiger, who's been to the Auburn basketball arena to watch Auburn basketball. It is a great experience, whereas it used to be an absolutely zero experience when they played it in the bigger Coliseum that they had before this new one. So this new smaller arena has given Auburn a home court advantage, not to mention Bruce Pearl's really good damn coach, and he's got great players, right? So Alabama could be in for some trouble tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised, QB, if it was closer than a 5.5-point spread. Then we also have LSU traveling to Tennessee. I expect Tennessee to handle that game. And then, but remember, Tennessee lost at home last week. And then Georgia and Mississippi State. Mississippi State is pretty tough at the hump, and Georgia is a team desperate for a win right now because I would call them one of those bubble teams in the SEC for the tournament.
Yeah, Georgia's on the outside looking in right now, but they win a couple more, they'll be right back in it. You know, the SEC.
Mississippi State better win too, though. Mississippi State better win too. Mississippi State needs to win too.
Yeah, for sure. And Ole Miss lost by 3 at South Carolina. South Carolina had a huge lead, and Ole Miss came back and had a chance to tie it up at the end. JC, let's do our Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry, Port Charlotte, surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com. It's the waste management this weekend. It'll be a lot of folks on hole 16 hooping and hollering. You'd fit right in there.
Yeah.
All right, so who are you going to pick first?
Well, I will say, let me mention that Tyson Alexander, your Gator, is going to tee off at 9:20 on February the 8th. So that's his tee time, 9:20. But I think, this tournament is really a lot of fun. It's hard to say who. I mean, everybody's can win this. I'm going to go with a guy like Harris English in a tournament like this. Let me get
Georgia Bulldog.
Let me get him on there.
All right. My first pick is going to be Ben On.
Okay. Ben On. And why is that?
Well, he's been playing good golf, and usually just those type of players win this type of tournament. So we'll roll the dice and see what happens.
Okay. I like it. Let me go with I was almost going to take Austin Eckroat, but I'm going to skip him and take Gary Woodland. Give me Gary Woodland.
Kansas Jayhawk.
He's a Jayhawk. Yeah. Who, by the way, can't win outside of Lawrence, Kansas. They lost.
No, I don't. I think they're the most overrated team in the top 10 in America. I don't think they're that good. I really don't.
Well, they beat Houston right on Saturday, and then they come here to Kansas State, who's not even a tournament team, and they just drop it. Awful.
All right, so you got Gary Woodland. I'm going to take JT Poston.
Oh, I was just about to get that kid. All right, you got Poston. I'm going to take – are we doing 3 or 4, QB?
We're going to do 4.
Give me Daniel Berger. Semi.
Oh, you're taking the semi.
I'm going to take him.
I will take Sahith Thagala.
Yeah, great player.
You know where he played his golf at, JC?
Let me say Arizona State.
Nope, he's a Pepperdine Wave.
Oh, he's a wave. He's a wave, QB. He's a wave. Bill, now when is the Gator Invitational? Isn't that coming up
it's
here?
the 17th, 18th, whenever that is.
Okay, so the Billy is in. He'll probably show up, and I was going to just go with Billy.
Billy's not going to come to that. That's a college tournament, Jason.
No, he just comes and shows up and shows face to say hi there.
No, he does that for Gator Golf Day. He doesn't do that during the season.
Oh, I see. Well, I saw him. I thought it was for the Gator Invitation. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Well, let's try. Gee whiz, this is my last pick, so I got to make it count. I need a name. I need a bigger name. I've got some dark horses. Scotty Scheffler for me, please.
Oh, that's a great one. #1 player in the world. Is he still number 1?
I don't know if he is or not, QB. He hasn't won in a while, but you know, he is one of the best 5 players in the world. I would be willing to say that. I still think if you took the 5 best players in the PGA Tour and you put them up against the 5 best players on the Live Tour, the PGA Tour still wins.
Yeah. All right. My last pick is I'm going to take a Canadian. I'm going to take Adam Hadwin.
He's a guy that got tackled by the security guard.
Yeah.
And security guard, I tell you, great form for the security guard. Probably was a linebacker in his younger days, but he almost killed Adam.
Yeah. So that's our Peaceland Dental picks for the waste management, which I'm surprised. Well, I guess they'll finish before the Super Bowl starts.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. Nobody's competing with the Super Bowl. You clear the decks. The game's on, and I'm telling you, the Niners are meant to win it this time. I really believe that. I don't think Kansas City's even as good as the team they had a couple years ago that lost to the Bucs, even though that team was devastated on the offensive line. Thuney is missing out of the lineup this weekend for Kansas City. I don't think offensively they are as good. So I think San Francisco gets the advantage there on that side of the ball, and I just think San Francisco will score on KC. Give me the Niners. We'll talk about it on Friday, QB. We'll talk about it on Friday.
Before we go, JC, I don't know if you saw this yesterday. I know you listen to the show all the time.
I do.
But I asked Buddy this, and Buddy, he guessed wrong. But the state that produces the most high school talent in America per capita.
Everybody knows that's Mississippi, and everybody also knows that when you say per capita, it means something different than overall. We got to keep that in mind. And so it's Mississippi. I would guess after that it's Georgia and either Louisiana or Alabama. And then Florida's in there. And then Florida's in there somewhere behind those states. And the reason why that's the case isn't because of the numbers. It's because of the per capita ratio of those states and their populations. Florida certainly has more players that come out of the state because it's got 7 times more people than those other states, and probably as many people as all of those states combined live in the state of Florida, in the peninsula part of the state mostly. But I think it's the state of Mississippi. And, you know, I look at Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia and Louisiana as you can almost make them one continuous state, to be honest.
Well, they're the top 4 per capita. Andy's question here on Facebook Live, does Brian Greasy get any credit for Brock Purdy's development? Sure. I mean, anytime you got a guy who's played the position, he can definitely help him. But again, Brock Purdy was a very good college quarterback. He's only 6'1", doesn't have a live arm that people fall in love with. But the dude is like Tom Brady, in my opinion. I mean, think about it. Brady was a 6th-round pick. This kid went in the 7th round, not much different. I'm not saying he's going to be Tom Brady, but he's composed, he's accurate, he's smart. That's all I need as a quarterback. I mean, he's in a great system with good players, a coach that knows how to call plays. He's got things you can't teach.
I think you're right, and I think he got as lucky to be drafted by that team as that team got as lucky to draft him last before the free agent market opened up at the end of that draft. And when you look at Brock Purdy, you know, he's the guy you see in the pro shop taking your money for your tea time. There's nothing really overly impressive about him visually until you see him on the field, and he's an assassin out there. And I think he was the reason why the Niners are in the Super Bowl, because of the way he played in the second half against the Lions. And so this guy is everything they need to win a Super Bowl, I think. And I believe defensively they will play better, because I think they're going to stop Pacheco. And if Pacheco doesn't run the ball, I guess we can talk about this again on Friday, but if he doesn't have a lot of rushing yardage, he may have a lot of rushing attempts, then I don't think the Chiefs win. Here's the other thing. Prop bets. You know, I heard you and Buddy talking about prop bets yesterday. Prop bets can be those goofy bets like what color is the Gatorade, how long is the national anthem. But prop bets are rushing attempts, passing attempts, rushing yards, passing yards, interceptions, field goals made, field goals missed. They are individual bets on individual players. Pacheco, 68 rushing yards. Deebo Samuel, 3.5 passing receptions. Those actually aren't goofy bets, and those do win just as easily as betting on the team or the half or the quarter or anything else you do on your website. So many more options. And prop bets are a large part of the betting market that's going to have billions of dollars flowing through it for the Super Bowl. This is the biggest gambling day of the year. So we're going to have that coming up. We have the Hard Rock sports betting app in the state of Florida. There are 26 or 27 other states that can do it mobily. You're going to see record numbers of betting placed on this game for the 18 to 45 male demographic, which to me is the big growth market. And eventually, we're going to have all 50 states participate in this. I can't believe California, Texas, and most of Florida, with that exception of Hard Rock, do not participate in this. But in New York, you're all good to go. So it's really a huge day on Sunday, and I can't wait for the Super Bowl. And then that's it. We're done. We can go straight to the NCAA Final Four, the golf, the Gator baseball, the Gator softball, and get ourselves ready for warm weather sports in the next 3 and 4 months.
All right, before we let you go, on the Titan Tomorrow text line from Jimmy, he says, I have a question for JC. How does he feel about his coaching hire at Alabama now that kind of the dust has settled?
I think it's really good because he's a young guy. He's got a proven track record. Yes, he's from the greater Northwest. He coached at Indiana. He coached at California. I think this guy's a winner. I think he's a winner now. We'll find out because it's a whole new world in the Southeast. We found out. Brian Harsin found out the hard way, but Brian Harsin didn't have the record Kalen DeBoer has. I think he's going to be fine. I think this guy, Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator for Washington, who's going to also be the offensive coordinator at Alabama, is going to help Jalen Milroe, and I think Alabama's going to be just fine. Now, the SEC is going to be a lot harder next year, folks. It's going to be a lot harder for everybody involved, not just the Gators and their schedule, but Texas and Oklahoma coming in, and the way they're going to do the no division type thing. Georgia's going to be the monster that they've always been. Carson Beck is still around with his Lamborghini. He should have given me the money. But in any event, I think everybody's going to be better that we care about. Florida's going to be better, and the schools that Florida plays are likely also going to be better. It's going to be a tremendous season. We've got 12 playoff teams. I could go on and on. We've got all summer to talk about it, but I think it's a lot to look forward to. And, I'm excited about it. But I'm also excited about the fact that Florida's ranked number 2 in the college baseball rankings, and they have a great coach, and they have outstanding pitching. And I think Gator fans are going to have something to really scream and yell about here in the next 3 months. It's a good time of year. It's going to be a good time. And the basketball team, listen, this basketball team, I don't know how they done it. I wasn't a believer after the Tennessee game, but I'm kind of getting to be a believer now because they're getting mature. It seems like they're maturing as a team as the season gets along. This Todd Golden fella is working out pretty good in the second year. You were a believer of him, so I give you credit for that. And we'll see, how they end up. I think that's really the defining grade on a basketball team is how you end during the postseason. And
yeah, I think a basketball team, will make the tournament because of their guard play. I love their guards.
100%.
Right, we got one other text here I overlooked from Frederick. He wants to know JC's thoughts on the ruling at Dartmouth.
Oh, I love it. I think that was due. I think we've talked about this over and over again. And QB, you may not have paid much attention to it when I mentioned it about 9 months ago, that eventually you're going to see these kids become employees. They will unionize, and Dartmouth is just
JC. But my question is, if they do unionize, all that kind of stuff, I guess because people always ask me my thoughts on NIL and all that stuff. I'm all for name, image, and likeness. I have an issue with because it's not name, image, and likeness right now. But regardless,
it's not.
The whole thing is these kids were giving a scholarship, which is worth. Depends on if you're an out-of-state student or an in-state student. I mean, you're looking at a couple $100,000 there.
Yeah.
If they become employees, should they have to pay their way? I mean, honestly, it's becoming like, why even go to class?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how education gets integrated into this, but because of the money, it was inevitable that this ruling for Dartmouth was going to come down. It was inevitable. It happened. Now it's kind of like the genie's coming out of the bottle very slowly, and once it's out, it's out. There's no stopping it, and these kids are going to get some sort of compensation. But with that, QB, will come the thing that you covet most, and that is guidelines and rules and a framework that's going to get this crap under some sort of control. And you might find paradoxically that you kind of like it that way, because we're going to have at least some rules that give us some control over how this stuff is going to happen. And I don't know if it's a contractual thing, but it will become represented. Unionization means representation for the labor. And that's what I think we're going to see. And when that happens, the NCAA's business model is out the window with amateurism. It is out the window.
Well, it's already out
the window. Right. Yeah. So this just furthers the legal ramifications of it.
Honestly, I know this sounds terrible, but there is no way that the money these kids are getting paid now, you have to go to class. Because, well, at some schools you do, some schools you don't, because they have people there checking, make sure you're there. I wouldn't give a damn about it. I mean, think about it.
It may be part of your employment agreement, QB. Remember, this is now it's becoming.
Oh, no, I know that. But you know, if that's part of your NIL deal, because I know they do have to do charity work, they have to do all this stuff. But JC, if you let's just use Carson Beck.
Yeah.
Over $1 million he's making or whatever it's reported. Mm-hmm. You're going to get up, go to your class. I mean, you're probably not going to give two shits about it because you're making all this money already. You're already making money. Most people go to school so they get a job once they graduate. Sure. You're already being employed. Like I said the other day, when is the last time in the entire country you heard a kid being suspended because he missed class or didn't have the correct GPA?
Those days are over. But
that's my point.
But know this, QB, that once you do get that 1.1 million, that does not set you up for life, because that 1.1 million can go bye-bye just as fast as it came to you. And there needs to be some people need to have counseling. They need to have coaching in that area of their lives as well. It's all going to come out around to the front, and it's going to be better, I think, for these kids who are going to learn how to manage money, who are going to learn how to become more responsible citizens and employees because of what they now have to lose, other than just a scholarship they could go get somewhere else school. So I think I think at some point you're going to see some sort of control mechanism in place that's going to make you feel better about it. And maybe you won't.
Well, I mean, I'm never going to feel better about it. I don't really care anymore.
There's too much money going around for this.
Right. But like Lanny says here, if a kid can afford a Lamborghini, then he can pay for his own school. Move those scholarships to the other sports.
Again, that's right. Everything's in play.
Yeah. All right. We got to take a break.
All right.
Pay some bills and get to Edgar Thompson. All right, Edgar. JC. Good luck on your picks. We'll talk to you Friday.
You got it.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a quick timeout. We'll be joined by Edgar Thompson. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. We're going to go back to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements, and we're joined by Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Good morning, Edgar. How are you?
Hey, Shane. Sorry to be looking like I'm working at the docks here. My house is freezing.
Okay. I think you should roll into the press conference like that today.
No.
So, Billy, first of all, today's National Signing Day, and it really means absolutely nothing.
For Florida, no.
Yeah, nobody is signing today for the Gators. Everybody's already signed, sealed, and delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be like a couple players. Jameer Grimsley, the Alabama, he's technically a transfer, even though he was playing high school last year. DeAndre Robinson, the Texas kid, he's an Orlando kid, actually, signed with Texas, got out of his scholarship papers. I mean, Billy hasn't discussed those two guys, and Jameer particularly is intriguing. And, Asa Turner and a number of other transfers have not been discussed. I think they have 11. They're players to talk about. I think we're going to be talking more about coaches and things like that, at least initially.
Yeah. Speaking of that, on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Large Fry says, a question for Edgar. The status of the assistant coaches' contracts that expired on January 31st, have all of them been renewed?
Well, that's funny because I said coaches and staff will be a topic. By all accounts, yes. And I'm not reporting anything. It seems there's been a number of guys who, received extensions. We'll get more on that today. I don't want to start throwing things out there that might be inaccurate, but I don't think there are changes clearly at this point coming to the offensive staff. It doesn't appear. There might be some changing responsibilities, which we're hoping to get to today. Maybe we'll find out today that Russ Callaway's calling plays or not. I don't know. But I believe the whole offensive staff is back intact, it seems. Yeah. And 3 new defensive coaches, as we know, and new special teams analysts joining with the with the current one, Chris Couch. So all that's going to be discussed a lot. But here's the thing, Shane, we haven't talked to Billy in 49 days, but who's counting, right? And there's a lot. Even if he gave us a minute a day, I don't think we get it all in. And we're certainly not getting 49 minutes today. So there's going to be some stuff that doesn't get asked, I'm sure.
Yeah, we got a text here on the Titan More text line. How close is UF to the scholarship limit?
I don't have it in front of me, but they're right there. I mean, they only had a couple few, and then Turner came into the mix and maybe Grimsley. They might have one. It's close. They might be right on the number. There are a couple guys on the beat, Zach Goodall and Jacob Rudner. Those guys stay really on top of it. I talk to them. I let them do that heavy lifting, but I think it's like 80. It was 84. They might be right at 85. They don't have many to give. They might, but I think you can, and this probably, because there's things I'm still learning about, rules and things, because they're always changing. But you can have more than 85 scholarship guys on your roster until camp starts in the fall, I believe. Isn't that correct?
I think so.
You can have more than 85
I don't know all those
guys.
rules either.
No, but you can have more, and then like guy graduates or decides to move on. I don't know, but I don't know that Billy's trying to, jam 90 some guys, but they might be 86. I'll find that out though, and let you know. And you can tell your listeners tomorrow.
Andy's question for you to ask if you have time. Can you ask Billy if Justice Boone and Cam Carroll are healthy and where they fit into his plans this season?
That definitely will be a topic we hope to get to, and Graham's health. And there's one other guy, Shamar James, who had just hit a kneecap. Those are 4 key questions. Justice Boone blew out his knee, I believe it was August 5th. That's still, is he gonna be ready for contact in March? I don't see that. Cam Carroll, similarly, I don't see it. Contact. I mean, those guys are going to be, I'm sure they're working out and running to some degree and all that. These guys, you know what's always funny, Shane? I go back to my days when I was covering the Dolphins. There'd be like a guy who was injured, and then they go get on one of those Aerodyne bikes, you know, the pedals with the arms, which will wear out the normal guy in 3 minutes.
Right.
3 minutes, 1 minute. You're like, oh, you're dying, right? And I go to the gym every day. Those guys just get on there and casually just do that like the entire practice, and they're like injured. So being injured in normal world versus being able to play football, I'm sure these guys are running, training, and all that. They're just not ready for contact and maybe hard cutting in Carroll's case. Shamar James had a dislocated kneecap. What was it? 48-week recovery. Never know how that responds. Graham Mertz, broken collarbone, was about 8 to 12. We'll see. I don't know that any of those guys are going to be contact, though, for spring. Why would you?
Yeah, there's no reason to. Frank on the Titan MR text line asked, have you heard anything about Gavin Hill moving to tight end?
Really? Because like 305, wasn't he?
Yeah, Gavin Hill's the kid from Buchholz.
I thought he was
I
like
don't see that either.
I don't have the roster in front of me. My recollections, the guy's like 6'3", 305, but I might be wrong on the exact numbers. That'd be something.
Yeah, I mean, he would just be a blocker, I'm sure. I mean, he's not going to run. He's not going to learn how to run routes now. My question,
he might be super agile guy. I don't know, but that sounds. Maybe he is only 270, and I mean his weight was improperly listed that I saw, and I don't know. Tony Livingston's a big boy, but he's like 6'5", like 250 something. I'm actually intrigued by him if he can actually get in the mix, because he was one of those big athlete, big cat types, and he might be an intriguing prospect at tight end. They have a few.
I mean, they're asking why do we need so many tight ends? The only thing I can think of is if we have too many guys at D line, they're trying to find places for these guys. I don't know. So
they run
my question,
personnel all the time.
Yeah, I know that's way too much. My question, talking about personnel, and I really would like somebody, whether you do it, give it to one of your other guys that looks up to Edgar. I need somebody
I don't know
to
that there are
ask.
any of those, but okay, what do you got?
Well, you're mentoring many of them, I'm sure, Edgar.
Yeah.
I need to know, will and why haven't we run 10 personnel, meaning 4 wides? Okay. I don't think we've run it one time since Billy's been the coach. If we have, it maybe twice. But
Shane,
I'm talking about 4 guys that are wide receiver. Like, give me Andy Jean, Mizell, Trey Wilson, and the Wisconsin kid, the transfer. I don't care who they are. I want 4 wide receivers out there. Will we see that this year? And then the other thing is ask, why wouldn't you throw the ball deep 5 to 6 times a game when nothing bad can happen?
Okay.
You're probably going to get pass interference.
Shane, you know I love you, man, but that question is not getting asked today. That will be asked at some point, like heading into spring or something. Right.
Okay.
We can't, dude, we got a lot to go through today.
No, I know you only have so
and you
much time to
realize that
ask.
one of the questions that's unfortunately going to come up to start, because I don't want to deal with this thing, I hope it goes away, is this Rashada thing. We haven't Billy hasn't been asked about the program being under NCAA investigation. I mean, not to throw a wet blanket on the whole day, but it's because someone's got.
I'm sure he's already got. He's prepared for that question,
and he probably won't say much. He probably can't. So, but there's a lot of questions to ask, and a lot of staff changes. I'm wondering, Shane. I wanted to bring this up because I had a question for you, as usual. So, do you know Mark Robinson hire? You know about this?
No.
Okay, so you don't even know who he is, and I'm not on you. I'm because I'd forgotten. I was looking at their staff list last night. He's the former Texas A&M Associate Athletic Director for football. He's moving into like a high-ranking, like front office type position, right? And so they're building an apparatus, like a personnel department apparatus. I'm just curious your thoughts on all this kind of stuff, man. You came up in a totally different era. You and I are both in our 50s. We're old school. Do you need I mean, it's like the hiring just continues. It's just getting, they're going to have to expand the place to like fit all these people.
Yeah, so let me get to that real quick, David. And multiple people always say this when I talk about throwing the ball deep. They say our protection is suspect. I will state this one more time. To throw the ball deep, you can whiff up front and still get balls off. Coach Spurrier, to this day, will tell you if the quarterback knows where to go with the football, you can just olay almost at the offensive line and still get the ball off. You're going to get freaking hit. That's part of the game. So would you like to stand back there all day? Absolutely. That's not realistic. So throwing the ball deep is most of the time it's the same timing as throwing a 12 to 15-yard in cut. Okay. All right. I've answered that question. So the personnel stuff.
Does Graham Mertz have the ability, from what you've seen at practices? We've had very few extended periods of time to watch Graham throw the ball deep. And so, but spring game, it wasn't very good, I didn't think. There were a couple times like Mizell was getting blamed for stuff, and it's like, I don't think the ball was getting there. Then we got the August 5th open practice. It wasn't great. And then the games, it wasn't great, but I'm not saying there was a lot of sample size.
Yeah. So here's the thing about throwing the ball deep.
I'm just saying the sample size was very small.
Can he throw the ball deep? Absolutely. He has a better arm than anybody that has a statue over there. He has an arm better than any of us, of me. Okay. That has nothing to do with it. So when you throw the ball deep, you're not going to hit them all. That's why you have to do it 6 to 7 times a game. If you hit 2 of them, that's a huge play in the football game. You watch on Sundays, they throw the ball deep. You don't hit them all. Sometimes you don't even care if you hit them. It's just to throw it down there. You might get pass interference. So to answer your question, yes, he has plenty of arm strength.
I think he's got the arm strength, but there's kind of a knack for it too.
Well, there is, but again, you have.
That was one thing Anthony did have kind of a knack for the, putting it out there enough air. He was good at that.
Yeah, and you have to throw it to the right guys running deep. Some guys aren't great deep route runners.
Sure.
You got to have the right play. You have to have the right people in the right place and let them do it. And just because you miss a deep ball on a post route or a go route in the first quarter, everybody's, well, you got to call it 4 more times. If you hit it once out of those 4, that's a damn good play. So you just got to call it. That's the thing. You can't just call it once or twice. Back to the personnel issue. I don't understand it. This is kind of where the game is gone. It's like the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They have not just the Gators, it's everybody. Edgar Thompson, wide receiver out of whatever school. Okay, how tall is he? He doesn't fit the mold. How fast is he? He doesn't fit the mold. What's his hand size? What's his wingspan? They look at all that stuff now, and that's how they narrow down the athlete that they're going to recruit. And like I said, this is not just Florida. This is everybody. Whenever sometimes you may find a 6'1" quarterback that's a freaking baller. Just because he's 6'3" and doesn't fit your mold, or 6'3" or taller, you understand what I'm saying here, Edgar? So I think that's what these personnel, like the NFL, they care about your hand size. Well, his hands are small. We don't want him. Like Cooper Carlisle tells a great story. The Raiders, Al Davis did not want to sign him because of his hand size. They had to convince them. So that's kind of how our college football has gone is they have a chart. If they go to this school and they find out this kid is only this tall or his wingspan or whatever, they move on to a different player.
I get that. And, I spoke to Jim McElwain in 2014 before we even knew who Jim McElwain was. He was out in Colorado State because he was under Nick Saban. I did a big story before that 2014 game in Tuscaloosa on Nick Saban kind of ruling the SEC and how he was doing it, right? McElwain talked for 30, he was great. And one of the things he talked about that he took away from the Nick Saban time was he was so involved with recruiting, for one, and it was fatal flaws, he would call it. Okay, like a offensive tackle who didn't have good ankle flexibility or some weird thing he would notice because he couldn't bend enough because his ankles weren't flexible, etc. So I get that there are those aspects that you want to pinpoint, but yeah, cookie cutter in a guy because it's like XYZ parameters, like you're talking about, measurables. There's more than measurables, but the conversely, as I'm saying, you can, if you've got the eye for it and you're watching the film, you can see things. So I don't know, but the point is, Shane, but do you need this entire apparatus in place? That's where I'm going.
I mean, you need some people that can evaluate and know who good players are. But
isn't that what the coach and the
when you
assistant?
got so many scouts or analysts, I don't know what half of them do. I don't think you need them all personally. But what do I know?
No, but that's where it's headed. That's where I thought you were saying. I'm just saying, isn't that the job? I mean, Billy and his assistants.
Well, what they do is so they have a model
that.
from Alabama. This is where Saban built his model with all his analysts and stuff, because you only have 10 coaches on the field, right? 10. Their job is to get their group ready to play for that game or that season. They're focused on that. So what Saban did was he got all these analysts. And so he'd have 3 or 4 analysts, say for the receivers. Okay, your job is here are the 35 wide receivers we're recruiting around America. So these analysts, they break down all the tape. They give all the data to that position coach and kind of narrow it down where the position coach doesn't have to look at all of them or watch so much tape. They've already narrowed it down and say, hey, these 10 are the ones that we think are the best. Now that guy doesn't have to waste all his time looking at the recruiting. They've already narrowed it down. That's where the whole model came from. That way they can be a coach. They can have a little bit of a life with their family. So anyway, Edgar,
I didn't mean to dismiss you saying I know. That was a huge influence on Billy's what I'm at. Yeah. When he went to 2011, when he went from Clemson, where there were 9 assistants, a couple GAs, a recruiting guy, a couple 15 people, and he goes to there's 60 people in the building at Alabama, and he's like, oh, okay, this is why they're winning, and he's taken it and run with it. He's not alone. I'm not criticizing Mark Robinson.
No. There's a lot of people.
I may never meet him, but you know what I mean. It's just
all right. Last question before we get you out of here. Time goes by way too fast. Gina asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellow, why keep the old street coach around the program, and why not fire the game changer coach Couch?
Good question. It's going to be asked in some tactful way. Right. I get you don't want to be wrecking people's families and uprooting them. I'm not about that, but you have a job to do. You're compensated well. I know in the case of Mark Hockey, I got nothing against Mark Hockey. He's nice as heck. He's one of the few guys that if you see outside that building, he'll come find you, not find you, but he'll see you and come over and talk. He's a great guy. By all accounts, the strength program needed to improve. A lot of people like this new strength coach by what I'm hearing a lot, and that he's really pushing the guys in a different way. Keeping Mark on, I think he signed an extension last year. So you're not going to cut loose a guy making a significant salary and just pay him. You're going to, get something. I mean, you're going to, have a position for him. We need to find out about that, though. I agree. And then Chris Couch staying on, the special teams have struggled under him, and they're bringing in another guy, Joe Houston, to maybe they feel like it's a 2-person job, because it is more than a 2-person job traditionally. Urban Meyer was heavily involved in special teams, but he wasn't running them. He had other assistant coaches involved too. It was a multi, front approach. And they're taking that with these 2 guys. And what Gerald Chapman, the new D-line coach from Tulane, if you look at his bio, he coached special teams at Colorado. So they have guys with special team. I mean, you don't coach football and not know how to get to this level, and you never coach special teams.
Exactly.
It
Everybody
seems
does.
superfluous to me, all of the staffing, but hey, look, man, I'm working in a dying industry that's cutting jobs, not adding them. So maybe that's just what I see.
Yeah. Edgar, great stuff as always. Let everybody know they can follow you on Twitter. And
OS Gators.
what time is the press conference today?
It's 11:30. It's early, so we're going to be able to get our writing finished a little earlier than usual. We always welcome that. We're doing a podcast later, Mark Long and I, so we'll be talking about it on there, not to steal your thunder. And I'll let you know about the scholarship limits, Shane.
Good stuff as always, Edgar. Appreciate your
guys.
time, man. That's Edgar Thompson joining us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.